Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Jeff. My name is Ian Bagg. Yours is Jeffrey Sharples.
That's right.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's a big week for you.
Yeah, it's a big week, and it was a big week for you. I mean, don't get the cart in front of the horse here. You did your Western Canadian tour, kind of like your rock band, like
I know
Bryan Adams or somebody like no one wanted to claim you. Now you're getting bigger, and they're like, well, he's Canadian. Yeah, we knew it all along.
It's pretty fun. It was a lot of fun. Like that whole going from town to town, going in. You basically arrive in the afternoon, but you leave. Like when we first left LA, we left at 3. I left the house at 3:45 a.m. We get into Cologne at noon, and then we have to do sound check and a couple things, and then boom, it's 2 shows, and then it's sleep for 10 minutes, then go to the airport, and then next thing you know, and then a bunch of family and friends show up, and you're trying to see them. You got like 2 minutes for each. All right, everybody gets 2 minutes. 2 minutes for you. 2 minutes for you. My sister almost punched me in the balls. She's like, "Look, I'm going to need more than 2 minutes." So
yeah,
it was fun.
I know. Hey, it's kind of funny when you start shuffling your family to the back of the line. They're like, hey, you're not that big a deal. But that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you you're not that big of a deal. 2 minutes. Not that big of a deal. Bragger. You're big bragger.
I got a question for you. How did you guys, when you played, you guys were still doing commercial airlines, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
So for the most part, the only time we did charter back then was in the playoffs, right? And so we would most times, just about every time, you'd always stay over in the city. Like now the teams, like if they play in Edmonton one night, they're playing Vancouver the next or Calgary the next, they fly out that night. And normally, and if they're going east, they might not necessarily fly out after the game unless it's the end of the trip or something for an East Coast team. So we'd slog all our crap through security the next morning in our suit and tie and sit in row 34F. And we were always in the back of the airplane, so we couldn't wait for playoffs, so we'd get some charters.
Would they put you on the first flight out in the morning?
Normally, yeah. I would. You know what? It seems to me that we were usually getting going pretty early. What I mean, what a difference. And like they talk about Vancouver and how much Vancouver travels. Can you imagine what it was like for them back in the day? Like now,
I cannot.
And then you have all these teams that are now within a 2-hour flight of them are like Seattle's probably 25 minutes, right? So they just walk up to the airplane on the tarmac, go up top, have their Capital Grill or, Four Seasons dinner or whatever it was ordered. And away they go. I mean, it's awesome.
I didn't even think about that. You guys would have to do, would there be a special line for you guys for immigration when you had to go, or would you guys be amongst the people?
Well, immigration never seemed to be a huge issue. I don't ever remember like going into Toronto or Montreal, it being Winnipeg, it being a huge issue. They'd kind of be like, okay, we'll, kind of get the team off to the side and fire them through.
So everybody go together.
But you'd be sitting. Excuse me, you'd be sitting in lines just like everybody else, and
that's crazy.
I just think about the amount of time and energy that these players nowadays. I mean, it's a big deal. Well, they don't have to expend, and from the team point of view, I'm assuming commercials is much cheaper, right, than chartering an airplane. But you're talking so much money, wins and losses mean,
but also
so much.
time. At the time,
yeah.
Here's another question. Would you guys have 2 sets of gear?
Would we have what?
2 sets of gear. Like would one be in the town ahead of you?
Oh no.
So were you guys
That's
ever
silly
playing?
talk? Come on.
Were you guys ever playing in wet gear?
I played in frozen gear in junior because our bus froze up. That was fun in Saskatoon. Yep. Suck it up, boys. And then you got Joey Koser, Joey, who thank God I played with. But I think Wendell Clark was there then. Another guy named Dale Henry. And then in Saskatoon. And our gear was all frozen because our bus froze up. And we were in frozen gear. It's like minus 40 on the prairies. And they were chasing us around. And I might have told you this story before. So we're out on the ice, and I'll get back to the show in a second. But Joey, he was in Detroit, and I was in Detroit. And luck of the draw every year in training camp, Joey'd always be on my team. So I was like, good. Because, back when Joey was young, he just would chase anybody down. But when he played junior, we were out there in our frozen gear, right? So then it goes from frozen to just wet. And they're all over us, right? And I go take this guy out, wham, I get punched in the back of the head. And I'm like, what's going on there? So the puck stays there a little longer, and I finish another check, wham, I get punched in the back of the head. So I go back to the bench, and my partner was Stu Wennis. Stu and Jeff Wennis, two great guys from Medicine Hat, awesome family. And Stewie was 19 and I was 16 at the time. And I can't remember Joey's number, but he wore 20 in the show. So I'll just say, I said to Stewie, I go, Stewie, who is that number 20? And he goes, that's Joey Koser. And if you go near him, he will kill you. And I'm not coming to help. I'm like, understood.
When somebody else tells you that, you're like, okay.
Yeah. And Stu was tough as nails. But yeah, I'll tell you what. He's like, if you go near him, not helping.
Yeah.
So sorry, going back.
Come on back to me. I got two more questions on that. You said Wendell Clark. Was Wendell Clark on your team?
No. Wendell Clark was in. So this was Saskatoon. So what Saskatoon?
You guys were in Saskatoon.
They had a bunch of guys there. Trent Yanni played there, who coaches in the show now. I'd have to go back and look at more, but Saskatoon. We got on to the topic of frozen gear and the difference in time now. So that's how we went down that rabbit hole. But I'm just trying to give you my star story.
I love it,
but on time.
But I want to go back to the gear thing and moving it around in the NHL when you guys were on commercial flights. That must have been hell for the equipment guys.
Well, here's what would happen. We would get in. So sometimes they would dry the gear the night before, and then they'd go over to the rink at 3 a.m, pack it all up and put it in the, and take it to the airport. Or we'd pack all the gear up, and then they dry it when they got to the next stop. But I would say the majority of the time, what would happen is the trainers, just the amount of work. Like if you think about it, you remember we had Dana on with the Kings, and they have a practice set at the Toyota practice facility they have, and then they have one down at Staples, what's Crypto. Same thing with the Golden Knights. And then they, some guys are changing their gloves every shift or two. I remember having 2 sets of gloves. So I would play a period with a set of gloves, come in and put them on the dryer, which, was just blowing air from the room on it. And then I take the other ones. That was my big thing. Some guys now, they have, I would say, sticks and skates and everything.
On the bench.
Oh my goodness. But they have more help now too, but it doesn't make the trainer's job any less taxing, but they just have equipment in different places. So I would think the practice equipment for most of these teams would just stay at the facility. And then, I don't know where Edmonton practices. I don't know if they practice at Rogers or not, but, it's totally changed so much of it. Yeah.
How often would you guys be doing back-to-backs, like leaving to go to someplace the next day?
Oh, all the time. Like I remember.
But there'd be a game the next day?
Oh, yeah. Well, we would play Toronto on a Friday night in Detroit, and then we'd go back there and play them Saturday night. So all the time. And then, it's even worse in the minors. They'd play 3 and 3. And so they still, I don't know if they still do, but I remember, let's see here. We were in Indianapolis, or we played Fort Wayne on Friday, Indy on Saturday, and Cleveland Sunday afternoon. Like we got to get my buddy Gordy Mark on one day and tell us stories about that. Yeah. So that was bad.
And how many equipment guys would you have?
Two. We would have a trainer and an equipment guy, and then at home we'd have a helper, and of course on the road they would have someone would be, from the other team would come
From the
over.
other team?
And their job was strictly to help the visiting team.
How often do you think the equipment trainers were sleeping in the dressing room?
All the time. And those when those physio benches, you go and if you go to a physio place and they got the benches and it'll come up on the back. Those guys would be sleeping on those all the time. I mean, if you think about it, if you got done
that's
a game,
insane.
If you got done a game at say the game ended at 10, well, the trainers after everything that goes on, there's no way they're getting out of there before midnight. Not a hope. Not a hope. Probably one. Well, the gear's in the stalls hanging up. Now you got to go and get that gear to the airport for 6 a.m. So what they probably would do, or what they did, is a lot of times, and I don't know if the trainers would still do it, but there's times I'm sure those guys are staying overnight. Like, I can't tell you how important trainers are, the medical staff and the equipment guys are to the success of your team. Like, these guys are unbelievable, and they're like a hawk. Like they got like a Hawkeye. They see something happen. They got you a stick. They got, they see you slip a bit. They're over there, working on your skate blade or switching it out. But that's another thing. If you blew a tire out there before, they used to have to pull your skate off and go sharpen it. And the coach would be freaking out because he'd lose you for 3 to 5 minutes. Now they just put their foot up on the back of the bench and they snap the next blade in.
That's like 10 seconds.
Yeah. And it's like an Indy car. Like, it's like going into the pits now.
That's funny. They're like a pit crew, right?
They are a pit crew. So I've said it before, but they're the heartbeat of every team. They're glue guys, and they sacrifice everything for the players. And, like right now, the players are asked to, like they're in hotels the night before games, obviously. And you got to put the family a little bit onto the side to focus on trying to win the cup. The trainers do that starting, like, the prospects camps start July 1st or right around there for all the teams. So the trainers are already starting. Like, it's just about, there's probably a couple months a year where the trainers are like, okay, we can, reintroduce themselves to their family. But during the season, and especially right now, those guys sacrifice more than anybody. It's crazy.
That's nuts. We brought the reason, if you're just joining us now, the reason we brought that up was because I did a five night 10 show tour, and I was just thinking about trying to do that with 30 guys. And it was, and that's amazing. It's funny that we've never talked about the travel kind of like that before, but it just, with the back-to-back moving air to a different city every night, I was just like, oh, I can't imagine. And then yesterday when I went through customs, I was just like, what was that like back in the day? Like, now they don't even get off the plane. The customs comes to them.
No, but you know what? If you get a little bigger, maybe we can do it with 30 and see how it works.
That'd be awesome. I'd love it.
Hey, we it'll be like, the traveling Wilburys, right? Here they come.
Right. That's funny.
Here, But
I was asking John.
Huge.
John knows some of the production guys on Bert's tour, so I was asking questions. How small was the crew when they first started out? I wanted to know like how many guys they had. He started with 0, just to let you know. He started with 0.
So and he started with 0, and basically John's your production crew. Yeah. So I had to laugh. So we got a picture. You know what? Can we put the picture up of the first lady? Call her Cranston. We're going to put this up. So a couple of our really good friends, Barb and Kim Scoville, up in Canada. They're around Tsawwassen, or they're south of Vancouver there.
Yeah, they came to the show in Vancouver.
Yeah, so we talk, and this just dovetails in perfectly with Customs because they both worked for Customs for years. I don't know. Kim was running the show for Canada Customs in Vancouver, I think, for a while. Definitely Calgary, Winnipeg. And anyways, when Barb was out on maternity, she came back, and they called her because Kim was running the show at Customs in Calgary. They called her the First Lady. They said the
That's
First
funny.
Lady's back.
The First Lady of Customs is back.
Because he's
We
the
had
president, the top dog, the First Lady. So the First
That's
Lady,
funny.
and then one of the first shows Kim and Barb went to, they go and do the Cardinal Sin because Ian had left tickets for them, but they got seated in the front row, but Ian didn't know who they were.
He didn't know.
So Kim was wearing a turtleneck, and Canada used to have this fantastic figure skater named Taller Cranston, and he would dress to the nines. But he always had his turtleneck on. So look him up. He was always a fashion plate, and so there's Kim showing up with a turtleneck. Oh my God!
Always wearing a turtleneck. Also,
anyways, I don't know, but
in Vancouver, we also had Al Murdoch, the voice of the show, came out to the show.
Right on.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then in Kelowna, your nephew Kalen came out. So
that's right. Kalen came down, and we had a lot of people. I heard there was some people that are a little upset with you, but you know what? When you're a big star, that
sure
happens.
Who was upset?
Trev had to go to Vancouver when he could have just driven to Kelowna. Like,
I probably could have
really.
I probably could have seen him more too.
You could have given him 4 minutes instead of 2.
I could have given him 4. I seen a picture of a bunch of people had a party, and there was probably 20-25 people at the Holiday Inn on Broadway in Vancouver. So I know those people had a good time. They came down to see me, but I was able to make a reunion for all of them. So I was feeling pretty good about myself. I don't know if you remember Chris Halser. Do you remember Chris Halser?
Well, obviously I know the name, but
Bruce Halser. You probably knew his brother Bruce Halser.
Yeah. I went to school with Bruce. Yeah. So
Chris was my age, right? And I haven't seen Chris since I graduated. He showed up at the show in Vancouver. That was awesome. Yeah. And I played hockey with him.
That's we'll have to have some. Maybe we could have him on one time. He could tell some hockey stories. So this week we've gone from a travel podcast. Now we're reminiscing. It's like
now we're a reunion,
family podcast. Reunion, like high school reunion, right? High school.
That's what Trent said. Trent was like, "This is like a high school reunion. This is stupid."
That's who you really should be on this show with. Is you and Trent.
I had so much fun with him. He flew into Kelowna and then he spent the whole tour with me. And we had so much fun. It was great. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Good. Yeah. So I guess, so we talked a little bit about customs and the rest. So let's talk a little bit about travel here. Since you were up in Edmonton,
let's talk more about travel.
Yeah, let's talk about travel. That's our deal. So Edmonton in Florida is by mileage or kilometers, the furthest 2 teams ever. So I guess that makes sense because I thought LA, New York, but I guess LA,
Vancouver,
New York's not that far.
Vancouver,
New York, I thought would have been there too, but this one must beat it by just a bit. But pretty impressive. The only thing that I think is kind of interesting is that they're starting it on June 8th. Like, I get it.
That's got to be the longest, right?
Yeah, like, you know what? The Cup was handed out here last year in Vegas on June 13th. Game 3 in this series is going to be June 13th. Here's my deal.
26 is the last game. If it's goes 7.
So I guess what they're doing is building 2 games in or 2 days in for travel, which is I'm cool with that, whatever you want to do. But I'm like, you know what? We are now, again, I've said this before, we start before the NBA and we end after the NBA. And I'm like, too much. And I know what they're thinking, expansion and this and that, because here's the hook. Arizona moves up to Utah. Okay, I think that's a great move. So now they leave Arizona as an open hockey market and then somewhere else. So then we go to 34 teams. So we're going to play 86 games? Like, to me, it's such a slog. I would love to have seen them start. Let's see. Edmonton ended on Sunday. So Monday, Tuesday.
They should be starting today.
You know what? Maybe start Thursday, right? Like, so they got a day to kind of unwind. And you're saying, well, that's only 2 days. But you know what? I mean, we went long in COVID because it was all backwards because they're like, we're going to go in the bubble. But now I look at it and I go, what are we doing? how are we ending hockey on June 26th? And you saw it with Colorado 2 years ago. You saw it with Vegas this year, and hey, I give Florida credit 100% for getting back, but you're probably going to see it with the winner of this series. I don't know how, if it ends on the 26th, right? 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks after last year, how you're going to go through your summer and get ready to fire it back up in September. I don't see it. There's just so much mental and physical angst.
It's draining, but I also what doesn't it kind of lose momentum, giving like a week and a bit off?
I agree. I would, and you don't know it's going to be Edmonton or Florida, and I guess because June 8th, I remember texting you a few weeks ago, like going, final start June 8th. Like,
yeah,
what if it was Florida and Dallas, for example, right? That's just pop across the Gulf, probably about a 2-hour flight. So you're going to give, all these guys, and you give them some rest. But hockey players this time of year, yeah, they probably like the extra day off, but they want to get back going. Like, they want to keep their routine going, because I guarantee all these guys are hanging out with their families right now, and that's great. Probably playing some golf. They're on jet skis down in Florida. Obviously, they're starting to focus on getting ready. But I think all those guys would love to have started Wednesday or Thursday for sure.
Yeah, jet skis in Cold Lake, Alberta.
Yeah, it looked like it's been pretty nice up there.
It was raining yesterday. It was raining yesterday when I left.
Hey,
but it
so
was
what was
beautiful on Sunday?
So my mom's in town right now, just talking about weather, because we're not just a travel podcast.
We're also a weather
So
podcast.
I think she said the high the other day, and I know I'm going to get flack from this from if anyone's listening up in Terrace, but I think she said it was 8 Celsius, which is like 46 degrees. Let's just say it was 50. So I'll say 10 Celsius, but it wasn't. When she got off the airplane, it was 98 here. Oh my God.
Just the heat.
We're walking around yesterday. It was probably in the 90s. Wasn't walking outside, but our like directly in the sun. We were in the shade, looking at some stuff, going to stores. And I go, Mom, it's not bad for you right now. She goes, well, it's hot for me. And I was like, I guess so. Temperatures doubled,
tripled.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you remember the guy's voice that would do the weather? Like, it was a national weather thing. Kelowna, highs of 10. Remember that? Do you remember that? Winds coming out of the southwest. It was almost like the first ever AI voice. Do you remember?
Yeah.
But it was an actual guy back then that would do it, and he'd do it for all the. I used to love his voice. He just give you. It was just so.
Yeah.
Anyways.
There was a guy that the automated voice sounds like a guy's voice I work with. I was like, is that
really?
Joe? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's kind of funny. Yeah. On the Weather Channel. When it goes automated, I'm like, that sounds like Joe. Hey, here's one other thing about weather and this series. When years ago, when we were in the finals against Orlando in the IHL, one of the things and Edmonton would have experienced it a little bit in Dallas with some humidity, but the humidity in Florida and South Florida this time of year can be crazy. So if it gets into the 90s, Edmonton is going to really feel it's almost not. It's like when you're in Denver, it's 5,200 feet because that's all they tell you, mile high. But it when you go to take a stride, you're like, oh my God, I can barely breathe. In Florida, the humidity has, I think, a similar effect. It can be, I don't want to say debilitating, but it can really
change your game.
Yep. So, I mean, they'll be able to change out of their gear as much as they want, but I'm just saying that could be a part of the factor in the series early, because Florida's down there. They haven't gone anywhere. They're going to be over a week off, just hanging out, and they train in that environment.
Where are the first? It goes to Florida first. Is that where it starts?
Florida, yep. 8th and 10th, yep.
Okay, so
anyways,
let's do a recap of the semifinals. Let's do New York, Florida. Anything that you've seen that stuck out in your head that you think might change next year? how close
next year. Like,
yeah. What you like? Did you see that? Like, oh, okay, they're gonna have to get rid of that player and move somebody else in there.
okay, you're talking that way.
Yeah,
There's all change is inevitable, right? It's the only thing that's constant in life. So there will be change. You started to see some people in as these series go on start to look. I don't know if they got old in front of your eyes, but definitely not as quick as they were. So you're going to have one of the things with the Rangers, and we talked about this before, is the concern with them was even strength. So when their power play doesn't operate, and Florida's getting some power play goals, so like on their penalty kills, not what it kind of is normally, and their power play is dormant. They got exposed for 5v5. So I don't know if you're New York, you probably got to look at, you got some some guys you might want to look to move on from. Like you have to ask yourself, they're a little bit top heavy, but you have some young superstars like Lafreniere and that coming up. So the future's still bright.
He came out. It was his coming out party this playoffs, right?
Yeah. So you got to ask yourself, like Trouba makes $8 million a year. I mean, he can absolutely change a game with a body check.
If he misses it, though, holy cow!
Yeah, there's a couple times he got caught in an island against Florida.
Yeah,
but over 82 games, that guy provides something for you to help get you there. I don't see a lot of changes in New York. There will be a couple, and then Dallas just they looked really good in Game 6, but they were stuck in the mud from the first game on. I thought for the most part against Edmonton, and give Edmonton credit, but Dallas didn't really get to their game a whole bunch in the series. And I think what really hurt Dallas is they they created the monster in the first game, double overtime. You get Hyman scores, and you get Draisaitl, and you got McDavid. And those three guys, once they got going, brought the rest of that team along, and Edmonton looked really good. So Dallas, questions in Dallas are going to be Pavelski. Is he going to come back? They've got some young guys they can add into the lineup. And what are they going to do on D? Like Chris Tanev, are they going to re-sign him? And
he was obviously hurt, right?
Oh, I'm guessing he probably played with a broken leg, but
it was pretty,
yeah. So we could go on and on, but I will say this about these four teams, and you'll hear me say this as long as we do this podcast, and especially at the start of next year. The four teams that were left did something over 82 games that was better than everybody else, and that translated into the playoffs. There's no surprises this year. You look at Edmonton and go, okay, well, they had a horrific start, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Once Edmonton got going, they were in the upper echelon in the league in all the statistics. New York, maybe not the greatest 5v5 team, even strength. So that was a little bit of a anomaly there, but everything else, they were terrific. Dallas, terrific in all assets or aspects of the game. And then Florida, enough said, right? Look at what they're doing. So I think the little things over the course of 82 games became really big things. And that's why you had the final four. And now you have these final two that are just operating at a different level.
Completely. Yeah.
Way too much hockey today, I think. But yeah,
yeah. Way too much hockey talk today on this podcast. Hey, let's quickly do the predictions for the finals. All right.
Hey, go for it.
All right. I don't want to predict anybody because I did not think Edmonton was getting by Dallas, and Edmonton did something in the final game, which was a page out of Vancouver. They didn't take any shots. So I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think Florida is a tougher team than either Dallas or Vancouver. And it's in size and strength, and you might see that come apart with if they start tearing down Nurse, like they got to tear down Nurse. I think that's their big bad tough guy and Kane, and I think Florida might start doing that, and you might see the big boys hearing footsteps if they do that. So I don't want to throw Florida in there, but I don't give up on Edmonton because I've given up on Edmonton every round so far, and they've come back to just push me in the face. So I don't know. The better team will win. Do you think
I was on the teeter-totter
think,
going this way, and then the teeter-totter went that
yeah,
way, and then I tried to even it out.
And I'm just stuck in the middle.
I just hurt my bum because it came down too hard.
That's right.
And the other guy jumped off. Okay, listen. Here's on paper. I think you're looking at, most people would say, like, the structure and the way Florida plays is like, whoa, it's been insane. Plus that experience. Edmonton, you know what? They get compared to the high flying Oilers. So the high flying Oilers, they can't, back in the day with Gretz and Mess and those guys that were just probably the best teams ever. But here's my key to the series. If Florida plays like they played against, pretty much to this point, then they are going to be really tough. Edmonton, there's a couple things that Edmonton does that helps change the dynamic of a series and a game. Number one is their pace. I don't know if Florida's played a team as fast as Edmonton, especially with their top end guys. So you have to account for that. Number two is Florida likes to be physical and in your face. They're much more disciplined. Edmonton's power play changes games. They had 10 shots against Dallas, 2 power play goals. So Dallas was much better than them, even strength. And that would be my only knock against Edmonton. They haven't been as strong, even strength 5-on-5 as other teams. But the reason you have to beat them that way is because their power play is so lethal and their penalty kill is lethal. Penalty kills killed off, I don't know how many in a row. So I wouldn't sleep on Edmonton. But Florida is a much deeper team than when you're talking depth in your lineup. And they have some game breakers that I'm not really sure Dallas had. Dallas has got a really nice team. But you have a guy like a Kachuk that can change a game, a Barkov. You've got some guys on the back end. And then you got a guy like Sam Bennett that can run over people and ruin, right? Like, he can ruin you if he hits you. So
which is something Dallas didn't do, right? Like you're like, okay, so there's, I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was Dallas's big mistake, was when they hit guys, they just hit guys. They didn't go right through them, right? So,
and it's easy for us to sit back, thousands of miles away watching on TV. But I'll say this: I don't think Edmonton, I don't know if the Edmonton Kings series was all that physical because it only went 5 games. Vancouver was a really tough series for them, but they kind of grew out of that series. And then Dallas didn't seem as tough a series it's physically tough, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't. There's you got to fight for your space out there. And Edmonton kind of seemed to get a little bit of a bump from their Vancouver series. And it wouldn't surprise me if either team won. If you think about it, Skinner reminds me of Aiden Hill from last year. In there, the pucks are hitting him. The pucks that aren't hitting him are and they're bouncing off him and going wide. And he's making the saves now when he has to. It reminds me a lot of Aiden Hill. And you know what? I liked Skinner before. I thought it was BS that they were on him last year in the playoffs. But he's doing the job now. Yep.
If you go back one more year when the Avalanche won, their goalie wasn't like an over the head top goalie. He was the guy that just enough.
Kemper, and that's not to take away from those guys.
No, it's not taking away,
But they stopped the ones they were supposed to stop, and a couple they weren't. And now Skinner's doing exactly that. And Edmonton. Here's the biggest difference in this series, in my view. Teams have not been able to get inside on Edmonton. Dallas very rarely was able to get inside or sustain pressure. I think you're going to see Florida be able to get inside, and then we're going to see how Edmonton handles that. But again, Edmonton has one thing that no other team has, and that's Connor McDavid. So
that's true.
And it might be his time. Like, can you imagine? Like I said, and we've got to run after this, but think about this. Could you imagine the NBA Finals without Michael Jordan or Shaq or Kobe or I'm drawing a blank on his name, Steph Curry? I know they're not in there this year, and there's other stars. Boston's got their stars, Dallas got their stars, or the Super Bowl without a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady.
The Greek kid out of Milwaukee for basketball, yeah, like they're all high-end superstars that you want to see in the finals. And
You
finally
want to
we're
see,
getting
and you know what, Edmonton, you want to see this guy, and then when the casual hockey fan tunes in this week, you watch this guy go around the ice. I mean, if you look at I can't remember, he was first goal against
first
Dallas
goal
the other night
on Sunday. It was amazing.
That was like a magic trick. Yeah, it's like you when you come out and help me.
Yeah,
like a Ginsu knife.
Yeah, you want this puck from over here? Well, here it is.
All right, we got to wrap this up. We got big things to do. So
I got a
big day in front of me.
I got 2 shout outs this week. So we didn't get to Luciano's birthday party. He had his 60th birthday party. I didn't make it to it. Did you get to it?
Yep. Yeah, I was there. His friends were there. Yep.
His friends. That's what he said.
He said to me. He goes, I go, Lord Bagg's not going to make it. He goes, that's okay. My friends are here.
He's the funniest guy ever of all times. I love it.
God.
But big happy birthday to Luciano. I'm sorry I didn't make it. I'm glad Jeff made it. And just one of the just I tell everybody about him. We lose him April 1st as soon as Toronto's out, we don't get to see him again. But big shout out, happy birthday, Luciano. See you soon. And then I want to give a shout out to your family. Big party this weekend. Young Molly's getting married, and Carrie Ann can't wait to go. Getting rid of both of them. I was talking to my mom. She goes, oh, this is the second one. I go, yeah, I guess we don't get to go to any more parties. I guess we're done. So this is the big one. So we're looking forward to Molly's big party this weekend. So congratulations to Molly. Shout out to Molly Sharples.
Oh wow, she'll be chirping me when I see her.
You know why? I'm saying that because it's the last time we can call her Molly Sharples. She's gonna have a different last name now.
Oh, right. Molly
Sharples.
Molly Sharples. We'll keep it in the family this week because I'm going to shout out my mom, because my mom came down to see us again, and she's just trucking along like nobody's business. It's a little warm for her here in Vegas, but she's come down, and I got to tell a quick story about our daughter Meg got married, and my mom. I was all concerned. I was like, okay, it's getting a little bit late, and then they brought out the karaoke. And then it's 12:30 at night. My mom's karaoke, and so I told Molly, I said, "We got to put a curfew. No karaoke after 11 o'clock. Got to make sure." I said, "I got to make sure Mom gets to bed." So, anyways, yeah. So that's the thing. Shout out to my mom. She's her vocal cords are all rested up. She's ready for karaoke.
You're so mean. Okay, we're gonna do a karaoke at 5 p.m. so my mom gets to rest.
I was like, "Hey, Mom, how you?" Yeah, I might go to bed as soon as the karaoke came out. We were there for another 4 hours.
Her singing 48 Tom Jones songs.
Oh my God. What Brian Adams. We all, we like to, but like some of the best ones is there's lots of good karaoke songs. We gotta wrap this up. We'll share that next time. Music will be our next podcast.
Music and travel.
Yeah.
Loved all.